Yay! It's fixed. One more technological breakthrough. Okay, I'm going to go back over the thumb thing. This is important. This has been the issue for a lot of people, even people who've played for a while. So let's do the thumb thing again. I'll try and do a concise version. Thumb over the neck or behind the neck. Both are reasonable. Both are great. There are great players that use both techniques. Some, like me, do both, though I will keep my thumb behind the neck most of the time and every now and then stretch it over for a reason. Oh, sorry about that. The reason I like mostly thumb behind the neck is because if you put your thumb behind the neck, you got more flexibility and you can move more easily. And at the same time, if you're doing something like bar chords, you really do need the thumb behind the neck. How am I going to do that and get a bar? Most classical guitar players definitely thumb behind the neck because they need to move around a lot. And flamenco guitar players usually do too. But if you're playing folk pop, not as critical, especially basically you're playing these open chords and I can do the open chords fine. As a matter of fact, it provides a little more stability because the neck is resting on my palm and it feels more solid. A lot of beginners go right to this position after trying this because this feels less stable and uncomfortable. I would propose it's worth trying to adjust your hand to play the thumb behind the neck, because if you ever want to play more complex styles, even if you're just playing basic folk or chords and blues, you're going to have developed a habit that's going to be hard to work through later to change your thumb behind the neck. But there really is no right or wrong. And if you're used to your thumb over here and you're playing fine, that's perfect. A lot of famous guitar players play that way. If you're starting out and you're willing to be a little patient, try the thumb behind the neck. A couple of tips is keep your thumb flat and not like this. Definitely don't do this. And don't put your thumb on the side so much like that. A little bit towards the side is fine, but not way. Oh, I'm sorry. This way is how some people do it. So try more like up and down. And relax your hand. Every now and then shake your hand out. Over tensing is often the problem with uncomfortable pain in the thumb. Over pressing. And the other thing is the wrist position. Have your elbow, your left elbow at your side, relaxed, not tucked in too tight, but not sticking out. And that tends to give you the right position for your hand. It should be to the point where if you just release enough pressure of your fingers, your hand could just fall off. Not exactly. It's sort of in between. I'm holding up a little bit, but my hand could easily just fall down. And that tends to put in the right position. You want the angle up and down. And again, if you're playing this way and you're comfortable, you're not worried about the kind of stretching you would do in classical or maybe, jazz. Perfect. Stay that way. By the way, there are a couple. The reason I use the thumb sometimes is because there are some chords I like to use my thumb for. So I'll play this D chord and I want to F sharp in the bass. And I'll reach my thumb up and I'll get the bass note that way. And sometimes there's some bar chords. Pete Townsend of The Who does this. He'll play a bar chord this way and play the bass this way. So a little harder on a nylon, by the way. It's easier on an electric guitar because it's a thinner neck. I'm looking again. It looks like it's working. And thank you so much, all of you who've hung in there and let me know and get me a chance to fix it. Quite frankly, if I aborted the whole thing, I don't know how I would figure it out. I'd have to keep doing fake. Anyway, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your presence here. And please, any more questions? I would love to answer your questions. I'll take a quick look and see if there are any questions. No, it's all about the sound. Okay, so if you heard that about the thumb, that's where I started. So we're starting from the beginning. This next one is another great one and connected. This person is asking, what are some of the specific exercises to improve flexibility? And this is a regular practice. Or will you just get flexible by practicing, or do particular exercises? So this is for everybody, whether you're a beginner or more advanced. I'm going to deal with the stretching between the fingers And this is a great thing for even experienced guitar players to incorporate into their practice routines. First of all, when you practice, you are going to get more flexible. That's just the nature of the beast. But there are some specific exercises, and I'm going to show you several today in a progressive order that you can use to help stretch your fingers, make things easier, and it helps improve your confidence when your fingers feel more stretched out. If you do this right, it'll also prevent some injuries. So the first thing I do is warm up my fingers a little bit when I go to practice. And I'll do that, first of all, just very simple kind of massage, just few seconds, really. We're not even talking 2 minutes, just 30 seconds at the most, well, maybe 10 seconds. I just do this. And then this is a stretch I like the most. It seems to produce the best effect for me. I put my hands together and then bend down and just hold them. And you want to go light and feel. Pay attention. Don't just do it without thinking, because you can hurt yourself if you're not used to stretching. I'm used to it. I can do this more intense than when I first started. And then I'll let go and then do that again. So there's a whole routine where I do it this way, but usually I don't go do the whole routine. I just start with a warm up like this. And then after 3 or 4 times, I'll hold it there for about 10, 15 seconds. Shake it out. Then I want to do the opposite. I'll bend my hand on the inside a little bit. I'm doing the wrist and the fingers. You'll feel the bend in the wrist more than the fingers and the upper hand. So I just shake it out again, loosen up. And now I'm going to just do a little bit of space like this, just slightly, just to feel a little stretch. I'm warming them up. I'm not trying to get them super stretched. Just to be even. But it's all going to, the left hand is where the stretching is going to happen. Okay, so shake it out again. That's really how I warm up. There are more elaborate routines, and I put one on my website, but quite frankly, I want to get to practicing, and that's usually about what I do. It takes me about 2-3 minutes total. Then, this is an exercise to start stretching your fingers. Put your finger on the 5th fret. Let's get one thing straight. The frets are wider here and narrow here. So when I say up in the 5th fret, that's because down here would be more intense. We're starting here at the 5th fret. Now I'm going to put one finger per fret. Got it? So this is like a typical, what we call spider exercise, where you put one finger per fret. Now, take that pinky and stretch it out. 1 fret, maybe 2. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I could do that. Want to try another one? My thumb is going down. It's okay. I'm going to try one more. Look, come on, let's go for it. That's quite a stretch for me. So you don't start there. Just try even one. Just get up to that next fret. And if that's a stretch, stay there and then let it go. And then do it again. Do that maybe 3 or 4 times. Then you're going to hold it again. Then you're going to stretch up to wherever you got to. You'll probably get a little farther after 3 or 4 times, just a little bit. And then hold that there for 10 seconds. Then do the same thing on the next string. This is just kind of a way of keeping track of your routine. Now I'm stretching. I'll do that 3 or 4 times and hold it. Do that all the way to the first string, and that's the end of that routine. Here's the most important key. When let's say your hamstrings are tight, right? And whose hamstrings aren't, especially if you're anywhere, up 50 or more. You don't run out and touch your toes the first time that you sit there and keep doing it until you touch your toes. No, you come back at it a little at a time every day. And it's the same with this. If your fingers aren't used to doing this exercise, you're not going to get that far. You just do it for a few minutes at a time, but plan on doing a little bit every day. Keep coming back at it. People really overestimate what they can do all at once compared to what they do little by little over time. You can do incredible things. Think about the waves in the water. I always think when I go to the beach, I see the rocks and I go, man, how can water make those jagged rocks turn to little smooth, beautiful stones? Time, little by little, over time. It's just so persistent. And that's how you want to be, persistent. Little by little, keep coming back at it. So you will find over time your fingers will stretch more. And if you want to up the ante a little bit, start moving back this way. It's not really that important right here, but the next exercise, it will be. This is the next in the sequence. Now you want to do this finger exercise and just play one finger each fret. Once you do that all the way to the first string, go down the fret. Do the same thing. Okay? And then you do that down the fret, down the fret, down the fret. So these are progressive. You start with that first one, you're stretching the pinky. Now you go down to the first fret. When you get down to the first fret, it's more of a stretch because the frets are farther apart. So I can feel that just a little bit. But even if it's stretching for you, you'll get to a place where this won't be much of a stretch. But you want to get there. So you've done the first stretching with the pinky. Now you do this exercise another minute or two. Then the third exercise. It's a stretch. You're going to put your first finger down, but then you're going to skip a fret. Wait. Let's start at the fifth fret, right? Closer together. We're starting here. Now you put your second finger down, but you skip a fret. And then the fret, and then the fret. And I can feel that just a little bit between there, but I've stretched. If you're just first at this, you're going to feel that. And then you go all the way to the first string. Ready for more? Down the fret. Same thing. Skip a fret. And same thing. Down the fret. So I'm going faster, right? I'm going to go, I want to move. Because what you want to do is you do the static stretch, but then you want to include it in movement because that's how it's actually going to play out when you're actually using this. So you want to get to where you can get all the way on the first fret. And, well, even I can feel that. And I've been stretching my fingers for a long time. So if you're not there yet, don't worry about it. It's progressive, little at a time. Spend a little time every day. I'd love to hear if you ever get a chance to come back and send me an email and let me know if you tried this and it's helped you out. I would love to hear from that. Either an email or you can put a comment on my YouTube video. Okay, let me make sure. We still got sound? Everybody still hear me okay? Good? Next question. Now keep looking over there. Make sure I'm not missing anything. When we're playing along with the lessons in the Real Guitar Success membership, is there any way for the tabs or music to scroll automatically as we play? Well, kind of. Let me show you what I mean. We'll go over to my dashboard. So here's Real Guitar Success. And the first thing you do is download the tab, and then it'll open up in another window like that. Then go back. Then go down to the bottom of the video, and this little, it's like two squares, one square and then a little solid square, and click on that. And it'll open up this picture-in-picture, which is the video. Now go back to the tab, and you can see the video and the tab at the same time. It doesn't exactly follow along. You won't see like a marker in the music. But if you follow my video, you'll be able to tell where I'm at because I'm explaining everything as I go. And this works really well. For me, it works much better than having it printed out and having to look down and look up because I can see both at one time. Okay, next question. Got to get that picture-in-picture out. I'm 72 years old and the wrist below my thumb gets really sore when I play the C and G chord. Do you have any suggestions? And yes, this is a great one after we've talked about hand position and stretching. First of all, it's probably that if you're putting your thumb behind the neck, you're probably pressing too hard this way, and you want to figure out how hard you need to press, and or your thumb is crinked up like this. You want to have it flat like this. The other thing is to relax your elbow so that your hand is hanging down. So my thumb is like this, and my hand is relaxed. So it's not gonna take a lot of energy to keep it here. If you're only playing folk style blues chords and acoustic guitar, and you don't have any ambitions to play classical or jazz or something more complicated, you might want to try the thumb up position, which is where you wrap your thumb around the neck and make your chords like this. It's a little more stable, and of course, you're not really using your thumb joint, so you're not going to feel pain in your thumb. It's just a possibility, and you might want to experiment with that. How often should we replace the strings on an acoustic guitar? Okay. So there's no one right answer. In general, if you're playing casually now and then, you'll probably get a benefit from changing every 3 to 6 months on your acoustic guitar. If you're playing every day, practicing on your acoustic, maybe every month or so you'd want to change the strings. If your strings are several years old, this person said their strings have been on there for years, definitely it's time to change the strings. Old guitar strings, they start to sound dull, and it creeps up on you. That's why it's hard to tell at first. But you'll be surprised when you change strings how much clearer and brighter the guitar sounds. Also, the strings feel stiffer when they get worn out, and they're a little harder to play. Fresh strings usually make it easier to play, and it makes it more fun to play. It sounds good. And most players are surprised when they do change strings because it's how good it sounds, because it's crept up on. The strings have died little by little. If your strings are dark and rusty, or if they have a hard time staying in tune, or you feel the rust or they're uncomfortable when you go up and down the strings, that's probably a good indication they need changing. Nylon strings, the same idea, but on a nylon string, these nylon thin strings can stay on twice as long as the metal strings. So these metal wrap strings are nylon in the middle. You want to change those, like I just said, maybe once every few months if you're playing regularly. If you're playing casually, 3 to 6 months or so. But the nylons, these clear strings, the fish line type strings, you can leave on there twice as long as that. So you're changing the thicker strings and wound strings twice as often. Save you money. Next question. Do we have a next question? Let me see. I think I missed one. Oh, I did. Joseph is asking, please teach a little flamenco. Thank you. Sure. Any additional questions I'm looking for? So I'm going to teach a little flamenco. I think today I'll teach a thumb technique, which I find very flamenco-ish, but not that hard. And it sounds impressive. It sounds like this. Faster. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. First of all, just make a basic E chord so you can hear what it sounds like. It's a thumb and index finger on the right hand, and I'm hitting 2 bass notes. Let me try this again. Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to hit 2 bass notes. Let me try it. So I'm hitting 2 bass notes. My thumb's going down, hitting 1, 2, then pulling off with the the index finger. Then I start on the next bass note and do 2. index, same first string each time with the index, and then one bass note, and I'm hitting the fourth string. So 6, 5, index, 5, 4, index, and 4. You want to start very slow. Don't yank your hand out. It'll be hard getting it back in the right place, and it'll put a little delay in there. And try not to go from the knuckle, but let your whole hand kind of fall with the thumb. It takes less energy and makes a nice full sound. So practice just like that, and then you can add this next chord. This is called an F, major 7, sharp 11. Yeah, we'll just call it the F thing. There's no bar here, by the way. It's actually much easier than you think, and it's a good thing to practice on the way to playing bar chords. So you put your first finger on that first fret of the 6th string, and then you make basically an E chord moved up 1 fret. It looks like an F bar, but I'm not barring. And it leaves these top 3, let's see, 1, 2, the top 2 strings are just open. Very exotic. Typical flamenco progression from E to this chord. So I would probably have a student practice these chords a few times first, just get used to it. If practice the finger picking first, the thumb, the chords, and then put them together. And then move and back. And up. And that will be the whole exercise. Okay, that's my flamenco lesson for today, and I'm sticking with it. Let's see. How much practice is too much practice? I'm really enjoying guitar playing, but I'm finding my back getting sore. Yes, welcome to the club. Trying to sit properly, that helps. You want to try to avoid this because this is going to get your back. Looking down like this. Doesn't mean you can't look down, just don't stay that way. But you also, I would recommend do shorter practice sessions. Try and do 10, 15-minute sessions and take a little break in between. I normally practice 30 minutes and then I take a 5-minute break and I'll do some, I tell people they can just get up and walk around and just shake. But I like to do some stretching. I'll actually lay on the ground and stretch my back a little bit and twist. And, I have several routines I've figured out so I don't have to think about it each time. Then I go back to practice. I feel like my back's ready to start over again. I used to get really sore backs when I practiced. And it's mostly because I would sit there for too long and, really concentrate on guitar. And then when I got up, I didn't realize how much I was hurting my back. I would suggest for most people anywhere from, 10 minutes a day to 45 minutes is a good practice. You're always welcome to do more, but try to do shorter sessions with breaks in between to help with your back. And the older you get, of course, this is more of an issue. Also watch your posture when you're practicing. And it helps me to put my foot on a stool and get my guitar up a little bit like this. It helps my back. And finally, how long should I grow my fingernails on my right hand for optimal finger picking? Start with, if you're finger picking on a steel string guitar, or actually a nylon as well, but especially a finger picking on a steel string, you don't need to have nails. What nails do is they make the sound brighter. But there's this soft, warm sound finger picking without nails that sounds great on steel string. And there are some classical guitar players that prefer that as well. So don't have to have fingernails. If you do, want that little brighter sound, I would recommend starting with very short nails. What that means is like mine. And you can look at my palm, and if the nail peaks up just over the flesh, that's about right. If it peaks up like this one is too long, I'm going to need to file that before I practice today. Hopefully you can see that. See the nails peeking up? That's a little too high. I want it more like this. And that's the way I can play, and I'm hitting the flesh and the nail together, and it gives me a nice kind of balanced sound with a little attack to it. It does mean there's maintenance involved. You know, I need to file my nails almost, I think, pretty much every day. And even if I don't make them shorter, I'll still buff them so they're smooth. And that gives me a good smooth sound on the guitar. If I don't, you know, I can tell that one finger will start, the note will start sticking out. It'll make a sharp sound. And then there are people that like longer nails, and that just means you're going to have a brighter, sharper attack. And that's totally a personal decision. Okay, that's all I can think about that. Let me look for new questions. It's all the pre-submit questions I have. And let me see. Question, is there a brand of steel strings that are easier on the fingers for beginners? Great question. There is, actually. And at my music school, we often have students start off with softer strings because they're easier on both the right hand and the picking hand, and the left hand. They're much easier on the left hand, and they're also easier for picking on the right hand for steel string guitars. They're called Silk and Steel. And the brand I use is by D'Addario. It's very common, and it's just very, very consistent. D'Addario has very high-tech machines, so the strings are reasonably consistent across all the strings. Sometimes companies with older machines, you know, some strings will be great and some not so great. So it doesn't mean that other strings aren't good, but D'Addario is a good, consistent brand. Silk and Steel is the name of them. And what they are is they're kind of a hybrid between a nylon string and a steel string. They have a wrapping around them so they feel softer when you press down. And they are a softer tone as well. If you're strumming and you want a bright, loud, sharp sound, they're not the right string. They're not going to be as bright and sharp. But they're much easier on the left hand, and they're a great way to get going. You can always change your strings later. If you were doing a progression and you wanted to get to steel strings, I would start with those, and then over time try very light steel strings and see how that feels. Your fingers will be tougher by then. And then you can decide if you want a little louder sound to go up to the next level. By the way, acoustic strings are gauged kind of funny. You'd think it'd be like light, medium, and heavy, or soft, medium, and hard, something like that. It's not. It goes extra light, light, and then medium. I've never seen heavy. They may have some somewhere, but that's the medium is the heaviest string that I ever used on acoustic guitar. So you start with extra lights and then maybe go up to lights, which is very common to stay with. And some people like a little heavier sound. Mostly it's louder when you put medium strings on your acoustic guitar. Silk and Steel. Remember that. Next question. Some play with the guitar over the left knee, some over the right. What do you recommend and why? Oh, not a good question. Yes. First of all, these are both great ways to play. And funny thing is, I'll start with what I usually do. I usually play with over my right knee, and my leg is propped up. Okay, let me show you something. I have this little footstool thing, and I prop my leg up on that. So I've got it now. So I've got my leg a little higher, and then I'll put my guitar on my right. And I like that. I also have a little device, I don't have it handy here, but makes my guitar even a little higher. This really helps my back. But most people play like this, with the right knee up on the stool, and then the guitar on the right knee. The traditional, I think it's Tarrega that I saw a picture of, is playing on the left knee, like this. And this is supposed to be the most stable position. So especially if you're really into classical guitar, this might be the right position for you. Most flamenco guitar players don't play that way. They usually play with the guitar on the right knee. And same with most folk style players. I think this feels very stable, solid. So when you're moving around a lot, the guitar tends to feel like it's going to stay in place. But it also feels kind of rigid. And if I'm playing live, it doesn't feel very good. Actually, it's my habit of playing this way, so I'm used to it. I would say for most people, the right knee is probably right. Unless, again, you're really serious about classical guitar, you might prefer this over here. This is the classical, people just call this the classical position. And it is stable. I occasionally do transfer over there, especially if I'm working with something where I think I need a little extra help. And I find that sometimes it helps me actually to play something more complicated. But I always go back to here when it's more comfortable for me. Good. Thank you for writing that down, Silk and Steel. So it's in the comments if anybody else needs to remember that name, Silk and Steel. I don't see any more questions. If I missed your question, I want to give you a minute to add it again because I must have just passed it up with all the fuss about the sound. Yeah, there's a lot of comments, but I don't see anything that I could think as a question. Silk and Steel. Thanks, you're very welcome. Anybody else? No? There's a little delay, so that's why I'm giving it a second, because you might not hear me for 10 seconds or so. It looks like no last questions. I'll close up for today. Thank you so much for hanging there with me. Everybody is still here and let me know about the sound. I'm going to do what I can to make sure that never happens again. I've got some new technology, which is cool. I can kind of show a close-up of my guitar, but got to get that sound right. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will be back the second Thursday of next month. Please feel free to send me your questions ahead of time, and if not, you're always welcome to add them to the chat. Take care. Bye for now.